All right.
They want to learn English, you're saying?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, James, you ready?
Oh yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you all for coming today. And I hope you all enjoyed, hey Kai, I hope you all enjoyed your Labor Day holiday yesterday. We had a really good one. I just want to say it's a lovely day out, and I appreciate you all coming. So we have a couple programs coming up in October. You know, they're kind of Halloween type programs. Eileen Devlin, the author, she's been here before. She's going to be coming, and she's going to be talking about serial killers. She wrote a book about serial killers, so she's going to be talking about that. And then Megan Bannister is going to be coming the week after that, and she's going to be talking about a book she wrote called Secret Iowa, which is about kind of weird things that have happened in the state of Iowa. So before we get started, I just wanted to say that we're going to try to leave American politics out of this. There'll be opportunity for questions at the end of it. If we could just kind of avoid American politics so we don't get into any kind of fights or anything like that. I'm sure James will talk about Russian and Ukraine politics, but James is here temporarily, but soon to be permanently.
Right.
And he came in just a couple weeks ago,
right.
And he had the idea for this program, and I thought it sounded like a great opportunity for us to learn firsthand, rather than through the media, about what is happening over there in Ukraine. So we're very happy to have him here, and his wife too is going to be on Skype. So I think that's all I have to say. So please welcome James.
Irina.
Your last name, I forgot your last name. Martin.
Right.
Jeez, that's hard.
Martin is like the top, most famous, most popular name in France or somewhere. So, okay, well, so my wife is online here, so I'll turn her up here a little bit. Okay. Irina, are you there? Whoa, is that too loud?
Yes,
Whoa. All right.
I'm here.
All right, here we are. Just right there. There she is. Okay. So say hi. You don't see anybody. Okay.
I can see only you.
Yes, you can see only me. All right. So here I'm gonna show you who's here. Oh, turn the lights on for just a minute.
Hi, everybody.
There. All right. Here we go. All right. So that's who we're looking at. And so now I've lived in Ukraine for 7 years, and I say I lived like I still live there, but I'm going back there to get Irina as soon as I can, as I'm waiting for a work visa for Spain, and so then I'm going to work in Spain teaching English until next June, and then I'm going to come back here and I'm going to live in Winterset. And she's in Ukraine right now. She went back there. She was over here this summer, and then she went back there she's been doing a lot of paperwork because we're going to be moving away from Ukraine, and she's trying to. It's just paperwork and lots of bureaucracy. So I was gonna well, maybe I was gonna do a little bit of. Now this is a great map. Oh, hello. This is a great map. So the yellow part, the yellow and the red part, is where Russia ran into Ukraine and occupied all of that area. So you can see they were almost into Kiev. And so then after like 2 months or so, then they went back. And then they pulled back to this part right here. Okay? And then but now you see this part right here. How many of you when did Russia invade Ukraine?
The first time?
Okay, yeah, the first time.
When the Tsar.
Well, not quite. Wait, maybe that's okay. In modern times, in the 21st century, when did they first invade them? 2014. So in 2014, they took over this area right here. And they've been there, and they took over Crimea, of course, too. And so then they expanded to do all of this part oh, there she is again. And then Ukraine pushed them back to here. And that's where they are right now. And as you can see, they're trying to get a way to get into the Black Sea without having to go through Ukraine. Okay.
The electricity is gone.
Right. Okay. So the electricity just went out.
Oh.
So as you saw her before. You saw she had the lights on, but now. So, but the internet is still working. That's one of the great things about when I left there. I could still talk to Irina because the internet was working. I could still trade messages with her, and that was fantastic. Even during the first days of the war, when there were planes and everything going all across. So, I'm thinking that I'll tell a little bit of my story. Do any of you know what The Moth is? Okay, The Moth is a podcast, and it's also at live events. It's the kind of NPR thing, National Public Radio, where they have people come in and say true stories from their life. And this is the bare bones of a story that I told in California on the Moth stage in July 2022. So, all right. So, I was running around the world, okay, and I was visiting some people in Russia, and then I was having a good time, but then I moved to Ukraine, and then I met Irina, and I knew my life changed, because Irina was beautiful, and intelligent, and beautiful, and down to earth, and very beautiful. And I knew that, okay, I had playing around, now my playing days were over, and Irina and I were married on February 5th of 2022. 3 weeks later, I left Ukraine to go to Malta, where my son was living with his mother, my ex-wife. And now at that time, Malta had very serious COVID restrictions. So they didn't let anybody come in without, I had to spend 2 weeks in Turkey in COVID quarantine because they considered Turkey to have less COVID than Ukraine. So anyway, the next morning, I'm woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning by Vadim, my English student, and he says, James, I can't do it today. There's a bomb. 2 kilometers from my home, there was a bomb. So I said, oh my goodness. I said, oh, well, so what's this is terrible. Because none of us really thought that Russia would actually attack Ukraine. And it was a shock. And so I couldn't deal with it because I lived in Ukraine for 2 years. I had lots of friends in Ukraine. It was like my best friend attacking my brother. And so I couldn't believe it. So I called Irina, and Irina said, yes, it's true, they attacked, but don't worry. Yeah, don't worry. So I tried not to worry. So that day, I was trying to do some online recertification course online while I was in Istanbul, Turkey. But my mouse kept finding its way back to CNN or Al Jazeera or somewhere to try to find out that it's all over with. Because 30 years earlier, in 1991, they had attacked what was then the Soviet Union, and they tried to take it over. They arrested Gorbachev and everything, and I was glued to the news at that time too. But at that time, after 2 days, it all blown over and no problem. I was hoping for something this time. But I didn't want her to wait. I wanted her to go. She said, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave my home of 30 years. And so I wanted to go back and see her and grab her or something. But with an American passport, they might think I was an enemy. Both sides might think I was an enemy. Because the Russians wouldn't like me because I was married to a Ukrainian. And the Ukrainians wouldn't like me because I spoke Russian and not Ukrainian. So I felt my hands were tied. Irina wanted to take a car. There were trains leaving Kiev, but she wanted to take a car. I said, no, car, what do you mean? Then you have to deal with flat tires, running out of gas, military checkpoints, and then that day they had blown up the bridge to Poland. So what are you gonna do? But anyway, I really wanted her to be safe. I had looked for years to try to find somebody to love, and now I find somebody, and look what happens. So, a friend of mine said, James, don't be stupid. People are leaving Ukraine, not trying to get back in. Okay, well, but when issues of love are involved, it's not always logical. So, on the next day, at 5:30 in the morning, I said, I'm going back to Ukraine to get my wife. So, whether I would get there, I don't know. Whether I would have trouble, absolutely. So, the owner of the hotel said, okay, what? A taxi to Bulgaria? That's too expensive. I didn't care. I had a small window of opportunity to get there, and it was closing fast. So I took a taxi to Bulgaria, and then another taxi from Bulgaria to Romania. And then I walked across the border, and then a taxi, and then a bus, and then a hotel, and a train, another train, and another taxi, and I was at the Romanian border. And on March 1st, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Irina walked out of Ukraine and into my arms. And so that was all good. And there she is right there. Uh-oh, she's frozen. Oh, no, she's not frozen. Hello. Okay. All right. And so now, so my presentation, okay. So, do any of you have any questions for Irina? Because now Irina was in Ukraine for 3 days after I had left before, because I was on a previously planned trip, but she was there. Or is there any questions for Irina?
What town is she in?
Somebody wants to know what town you're in.
In Kiev.
Yes. Yes.
Kiev.
Right.
Kiev is the Russian pronunciation.
Right. Well, and Irina is from Kharkiv, and as you see, Kharkiv is right here. So it's 18 miles. I couldn't believe it, but Google, the master of all knowledge, said that Kiev is 18 miles from Russia, and it may be, but that's where Irina grew up, and that's the Russian speaking, absolutely Russian speaking. All of this area is Russian speaking, and where Putin has attacked is all Russian speaking, and so it's kind of like what's he doing this for and why, and it's whether he's nut or some other problem, I'm not sure. So now, oh yes, I was gonna look and see. I think Kiev to Kharkiv it's about 6 hours. 6 hours by car. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Putin declared that he came to free Russian-speaking people, but it's not true. They just needed this area.
Right. So this area is also it's rich in natural resources, coal and oil and that kind of things. And also he has a way to get to the Black Sea without having to go into Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to understand.
So is that just what he wants, is that area? Is he not interested in really the rest of the country? Or does he want to eventually take over the whole country?
It's hard to say, but it's unfathomable that he would try to control all of Ukraine, because now the people in the Russian people all the Ukrainians hate Russia, hate Putin, hate everything, because there are some. I would say, well, they would say, yeah, Russians, they're all terrible. I said, well, they're not all terrible, are they? I mean, like the government maybe is terrible, but not, oh, no, they're all terrible. So there's a lot of Ukrainians who are just absolutely against everything Russian. And if to have Putin take over the whole country and try to control the whole country, I can't imagine how it would happen. I mean, there would be lots of guerrilla warfare, and people would be, I mean, it'd be something like in Israel, I guess, but it'd be on a much bigger scale. And so
There was a bombing today, 50 people killed and 200 injured. What part of the Ukraine was that at?
that was in Poltava. So Poltava is somewhere between Kiev and Kharkiv. Irina?
Yes,
Poltava is it? Can you see my screen? You can just see me.
I can see only you.
Okay.
Yeah, Poltava, it's in between Kiev and Kharkiv.
Right about here. And I also heard that they bombed some place in communications had military communications, or it was random. It's hard to say. But when I was living there, I lived there. We moved back last November. So last November until June when we came to the United States, I was there for maybe 7 months during the war. And every day, maybe once or twice a day even, there would be air raid sirens. And they're not the kind of air raid sirens that you see on the World War II movies where it sounds the same. It's like, it sounds really terrible. But people don't rush to the bomb shelter because it means that there's some problem, okay? So it means there might be a plane flying around the Black Sea, and that plane might have weapons that might be able to come to Kiev. So they got to put that warning out. Or it might be a missile that's on its way to Kiev. So it's really serious or not really serious. So it's hard to say. And it would happen so often that while I was there, we didn't even pay attention to it. And it was very, very random, the damage that would happen. And one thing that, go ahead, sir.
A question regarding the area that's largely agricultural, a very, very large amount of wheat production that's in, and I assume it's in the central area there?
Right, yeah, well, or all over.
Yeah, and so is the war affecting that greatly?
The war is affecting that in the fact that they can't get the grain out of here. There's a port of Odessa, and Odessa, a lot of ships left Odessa, and now there was an agreement that Putin or Russia let some grain leave Ukraine, and I'm not sure if that's still going on. One of my students is a farmer. He has about 600 acres, and sometimes he grows soybeans, sometimes he grows corn, sometimes he grows sunflowers. And they say that the prices are not very good. Because what they have to do, they have to truck it to Poland, and then the Polish farmers aren't very happy because it's like flooding the market with more cheap stuff. So that's not very happy. That's not very friendly. Okay. What was I going to say before?
You talked about, как сирена сказать?
Siren, air raid sirens.
Air sirens. But 2 days ago, there was a most terrible night and no sirens. There was no sirens, just unexpectedly explosion everywhere, and the sky was red. I was never so scared. I never in my life was so scared. Even my hands was trembling.
Was it even worse than the first 2 days? way back? then?
much worse.
Oh my. 'Cause
It was terrible.
the first days of the war. Go ahead.
That's why your students canceled the lessons even when everything was over, because I understand them. They were shocked. They was so shocked that they couldn't
Couldn't
learn
concentrate.
English.
They couldn't concentrate. They couldn't concentrate on anything. So, and the first days of the war, there were also airplanes. Wasn't that? Were there airplanes yesterday on Sunday?
No, just rockets.
Right. Okay. When the
Rockets and explosion. It was endless night.
Oh. And were there any near you? Were there any Lukyanka or any of that place?
Yeah, they like to bomb our area.
Right. Okay. Well, so the first bit of there were airplanes coming, and I would be freaked out, but okay. And it's true. I should and I did show some sympathy to the students who were shell shocked or freaked out. Okay.
Are they in a school or in a classroom?
No, they were. My students are just individual students. But while I was there, in January, February, March, I did teach in a school in Kiev, and they got so used to it. So when the sirens go out, they'd say, "Oh!" They'd pack their books up and go down to the bomb shelters at the bottom of the building, and we would just continue class down there. We'd just go down there and they'd sit around the table, and we'd do the same things that we did up in the classroom down there in the bomb shelter. And then after 15 minutes or after an hour and a half, then the all clear signal would show and we'd go back up. When I went to Romania, and then I met Irina, and we went back and we went into a refugee center. It was like a 5-star hotel that was converted for shelter for us. And I thought that bomb shelters and refugee centers would be sad places, but this place was not sad. Everybody was so happy to be out of harm's way, or at least for a time being, and so it was great. I mean, and there were lots of people there with lots of all kinds of food and all kinds of supplies for us. It was great. And I said one time, well, that was our 3rd week of marriage, and so I said, here we are in our honeymoon with 300 roommates. that was pretty good. Okay, let me look at some more.
Are there mental health counselors planning for people that are going through the mental strain?
It's possible. Irina might say something about mental health. Do you want to say anything about that? Do you want to say anything about your experience with mental health?
A lot of people went through depression right now, and a lot of people apply to the doctor and take pills, antidepressant.
Antidepressant, yes. That's right.
Antidepressant, right.
Oops. Okay, so I have another, it's in here. Right here. Okay. All right. Okay. So, and in 2014, so Putin tried to say that they were not invading Ukraine. Because, do you remember that time?
Mm-hmm.
There was a time when they called them Little Green Army Men. And they had no insignia. They weren't obviously Russians, but they were. And then after 2 weeks, after 2 weeks, Putin admitted that they were Russians, and they were going for it. And so, yeah, okay, I read some more. Now, Ukraine it was in 1994, I think it was, when there was what they called the Minsk agreements, that Ukraine agreed to give up their nuclear weapons, and they gave it up in exchange for security guarantees from the United States and Russia that nobody would attack them. And so Russia was the one who signed it, and so then Russia was the one who attacked them. So that's a very unfortunate situation.
And where has Ukraine, intruded into Russia at this time?
Ah, right. So into Kursk, and so it's up here. Okay, let me see if I can. That's a great question.
What was
Okay.
the question?
Where has Ukraine invaded Russia in recent times? Okay. No, that's not it. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, Kursk. I wish I had it. Oh, okay. Okay, so, so here we are right here. Okay, so you see, here's Ukraine right there, and it's in that little area right there, okay? And they've taken over this bit. This is a small amount, but it's a psychological thing, because Russia has never been invaded since World War II, and now they are, and Ukraine is occupying it. And my first impression was, oh, it's good. It's good that they're showing Russia what it's like. But other people say, well, no, it's not so good, because now Putin will retaliate very seriously, and he has recently.
That terrible night was a revenge from him for Kursk.
Right.
It was revenge for Kursk. That's why that was so terrible.
And so, what do you think he's going to continue this, or what's going to happen? How is it right now?
Right now, Ukrainians still in Kursk.
Right.
And
But I mean in Kiev, how is it? How is it this evening?
this evening was quiet.
Okay. I want you to understand that it's 1 o'clock for her. It's 1:30 in the morning. So let's have a hand for Irina. Okay. Thank you very much.
I hope to see everybody in person as soon as possible.
Right. Yes, we'll come back when we're back here. We'll have another party.
Here we go.
Where is that?
All right. So now, are there any other questions? Who has more questions?
My understanding is that some of the Russian soldiers have actually
Gone over to the other
reverted
side?
to Ukraine.
Well, I'm sure it depends on which propaganda you're going to listen to.
Yeah.
I'm sure that the Russians will say, no, there's none of that happening. The Ukrainians are coming over to the Russian side.
Yeah.
And Ukrainians are going to say the Russians are coming over to the Ukrainian side. And there's probably some of both, but, and the way that the political and the news system now is, you have no idea what to believe. So I'm not sure.
Is Al Jazeera pretty nonpartisan?
Al Jazeera, I don't think any of them are nonpartisan. I mean, I hardly listen to anything anymore, and I listen to Irina. Irina is my source of news. But Al Jazeera, I'm sure that they have a hoe to, let me see, a row to hoe, something like an axe to grind. They have an axe to grind just like everybody else has an axe to grind.
When Russia first, started bombing Ukraine, and we, here in the States saw pictures of the different ways that Ukrainians were trying to leave, the train and their cars and whatever. And a lot of talk was about, going to Poland, but, I'm kind of confused because there's a lot of Ukraine that was not being bombed and subsequently really, as far as I understand, hasn't been bombed. So why do people choose to go to Poland instead of going to Western Ukraine?
Well, a lot of people did go to Western Ukraine. So Poland was far enough away to be completely out of the war zone. But there were a lot of, so yes, right around here was being bombed. But there were some bombs in Lviv, and Lviv is right here, so it's way over here. So there were some bombs coming from here and going all the way to Lviv. And so there haven't been many bombs in Lviv lately. Irina, do you know, has Lviv been bombed recently?
No, Lviv is more safe.
Right, okay.
Because I think that Russians don't need the west part of Ukraine. They need only east part.
They only want this part.
Yeah.
Do they want more than what they have already?
They want more because they want more area with nature resources and wider way to Black Sea.
Right. They want and maybe a buffer zone, so to say. But let me see. I'm gonna send this map to Irina, so make sure that she sees it. Okay, Irina, I'm gonna show you a map. I'm gonna send you a map. I'm gonna ask you if you think that Russia wants more than that.
Russia wants Kharkiv, Sumy, Dnipropetrovsk.
Okay. So Kharkiv is here.
East part from Dnipro. You know Dnipro River.
Dnipro is right here. Okay. They want everything east of
whole
Dnipro.
whole territory to east
Of the Dnipro River.
from Dnipro River.
Okay.
Right.
So as you look at, can you see this? Blue line right here? This is the Dnipro right there. Dnipro River, and then right there. So Irina just said they want all of this. So did you see the map that I sent you, Irina? I sent it to you by telegram.
Telegram.
Now Kherson is a city that's split. So this part is Russian controlled, but this part is Ukrainian controlled. And it used to be, see this yellow part here was controlled by Russia. But as you can see down here, Ukrainian recaptured it between February 22nd and August of 2022.
If you took a vote in the Russian-speaking part of Ukraine, where would they choose to go?
Well, before the war, I think there were lots of people who would want to go into Ukraine. But once this started, I don't think any of them would want to. But I'm not. I think you're
I can say about it. Before war started, half of population of Ukraine was Russian speaking. 50% of people was Russian speaking. But now, even they don't want to speak Russian and trying to speak only Ukrainian.
Yeah. And but now then they say that, a lot of the Western, news says that, it was a sham election in Crimea. That it wasn't a real election, but, Irina, what do you think about Crimea?
I think it was true. It was real election.
It was a real election because,
People in Crimea there was no Ukrainians in Crimea. Crimea was full of Russians, originally Russian. So they was happy to be part of Russia.
right, so it's not all black and white. So Putin going in there was not terrible to a lot of people.
Well, historically speaking, why doesn't that eastern part of Ukraine speak Russian? I mean, were they originally Russian, or
Okay.
at one time
Do you hear the question, Irina?
Yes.
Why, in the eastern part of Ukraine, why are there Russians there?
well, why do they speak Russian?
Why do they speak Russian?
Так исторически сложилось.
That's just history, that's what happens right there, because, and,
I can tell you.
okay.
Because the Tsar from Russia invaded that part of Czechoslovakia back in Ukraine. Back before it was Ukraine, and they invaded that part and took over that part of the country for a long time, and everyone learned to speak Russian or spoke not at all. My babushka and I came from Kyiv in 1955. I have a lot of my family that have died in Marisol in the last 20 years, aunts, uncles, cousins, and most of them have immigrated to Odessa.
Odessa is also very Russian speaking. And Kharkiv used to be the capital of Ukraine. And so, and I went to Kharkiv in, not long after I met Irina in 2020 or so, and I thought Kharkiv was just the most beautiful place. I said that Kharkiv makes Kiev look like a dumpster because it was just so beautiful. It was, and now it's they bombed buildings, they blew up universities, and it's not very nice. I've been back to Kharkiv just to take her mother from Kiev back to Kharkiv, and then turn around.
Now there was now half of the city, I mean Kharkiv, disappeared from the map. It just absolutely ruined up to the earth.
Okay. Demolished, right? Destroyed.
Я пойду спать, хорошо?
Хорошо, okay. So everybody say goodbye. She's going to sleep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
See you soon.
And hope.
Oops, okay.
How hard is it to get into the Ukraine now? With the-
Okay, you gotta go, when we go back, you have to go to, we fly to Warsaw, and then you take a train from Warsaw to Chelm in Poland, and then from Chelm to Kiev, you take another train, and it's an overnight train. So it's pretty comfortable, but it takes a long time.
Is there problems getting in?
Well, I have a temporary residency, so I can get in there okay. And Americans can get in there for 90 days, I think, without any visa. I'm not sure exactly, but so it's not.
Are these two cities, the K's, are they millions population, or is it the rough estimate?
Kiev before the war was about 5 million. And
Both of them, or?
no, Kharkiv is less than that, maybe
Okay, but
1.5.
Kyiv was.
1.5. It was about 5.
It's a lot.
Kharkiv is 1.45 or so.
LA area.
Yeah.
And, yes.
So with so many universities and schools being destroyed, are people and students still able to continue their education somewhere?
Well, I have, one of my students is a teenager, she's like 15, she's going into 9th grade. And I teach her for the, less money at discount because her grandmother lives exactly under Irina. So she and her family live maybe 25-minute walk away, but her grandmother lives right under Irina. And we were talking today, she said that she didn't know where she would go next year. And I said, we were in the library, we were right over there in the library, and I kept trying to understand, what are you saying? That, so the 9th graders last year, she doesn't know where they went, and she doesn't know where she's gonna go, because she has to have a certain education. She wants to go overseas, she wants to go abroad. And to tell you the truth, I would like to sponsor her. I would like to have her come over here and live with us for a while. And I think that would be a great idea. I have another student she's I think she's a philosophy student. No, she's a diplomatic student. She studies politics, and she said, oh, I have to cancel the lesson for today. And I said, this is before I knew how much they bombed. I think I told somebody that, well, this is less than 24 hours before the lesson, so you need to pay for it. And then she said, okay, well, we can study. But then I talked to Irina, and she said how many bombs there were, and I said, okay, you can cancel for no penalties. So there are lots of. Oh, and this morning I got a message from a high school that said they want me to come and talk to them about a job, because I had sent them my resume like in January, and they're just getting around to it now. So my situation has changed quite a bit. So I don't think I'll be going there. But I have this job in Spain that is what I'm going to be doing this year. Too many changes. And Irina has a daughter and a son, and they live in. Her son lives in Berlin. Her daughter lives in Frankfurt, and hopefully they're going to come visit us in Spain at Christmas.
How much do the neighboring countries, Romania, Poland, etc., see this as a direct threat to them if Ukraine doesn't hold out?
It's hard to say, actually, but a lot of Poland. There are lots and lots and lots of Ukrainians in Poland, and sometimes I get the idea that they're sick of them. They've had enough of Ukrainians, and they're taking their jobs and stuff like that. But I think that Moldova has a Transnistria, a little area of Moldova that's very, very Russian, that has wanted to go off on their own. And some say that Putin's not going to stop here. He's going to move over here, and he's going to get into Moldova, and he's going to grab that too. And so that would be catastrophic for Ukraine. They would not have an access to the Black Sea. So I think I've had enough. I mean, I think I've talked long enough. Is there any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
What's the infrastructure like in Ukraine, like the banks, the hospitals,
Well, I still.
the lights and electricity?
Right. Well, the lights and electricity are recently they haven't been that great because of the bombs. So, like when I was there, we'd have electricity outages, like 4 hours on, 4 hours off, and sometimes it was chaotic. You said the banks. Oh, banks. I still my students all pay me to my Ukrainian bank. and so I still get that money. And, I can't use it now, because I used to be able to use my Ukrainian card anywhere around here, but it doesn't work now. And I don't think that's because of the war. I think that's just because I don't know, they tried to change my password or something like that. But the money is still there, I hope.
Clearly you speak Spanish as well as Russian and English.
Clearly not.
No?
People say, what, you're going to Spain, you don't speak Spanish? I said, well, they don't pay me to speak Spanish. They pay me to speak English, and so I'm going to try to do that.
So what is your background? How did you?
Well, I went overseas in 1997 to Azerbaijan, and I taught there for 4 years, and then Kazakhstan for 8 years, and Albania
Where
for
were
2
we
years.
originally from?
Originally from Newell, Iowa.
Where did you get your schooling?
Schooling Iowa State.
Okay.
Iowa State and the University of Iowa,
Okay.
and the Institute of Steel and Alloys in Moscow. And so that's it. Did I
Yeah.
answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
You did.
And now Newell is a town that is dry.
Right over Thicket Storm Lake.
Right, yes, but it's drying up. And the only thing in Newell now is the school. That's all that's there. And one of my former classmates was a superintendent, and he just grew that school up, and so it's fantastic now. But that's it. There's the lumberyard's gone. The elevator's still there, but all the businesses on the Main Street are all gone. I think the bank and the post office is there. But then that's why when I got down here, I said, wow, this place is moving. They got lots of, a Subway, you got a Hardy, you got a Hy-Vee, you got a Fairway, you got the hardware store, you got all kinds of stuff. But it's small, and what's really great is that I can ride my bike from my house to the library or to the shop, to a grocery store, and I think I'm gonna love it here. Yes, ma'am.
So what's the most important takeaway that you have gotten from this experience that you think people should know
it
about?
goes back to when I was in 1988 was the first time I went to the Soviet Union. So I graduated from Iowa State on August 8th, and August 15th I went to the Soviet Union on a peace walk. I don't know if you remember, in 1988 there was a peace walk. They came to East Coast for a while, and then they came to Iowa for a week, and then they went to Los Angeles. And I said, well, they're going to be in Des Moines tomorrow. I said, what? Oh, I want to go down. So I had taken 1 year of Russian, and so I went down and I walked with them, and one of the guys said, you know that to walk in August, there's still room. And so I said, yeah, man. So I went. And when I came back from that trip, I said, it's not that the people can't get along, because when we went over there, those people, the 23, 24-year-olds that I met were just the same as me. Everybody wants to live their lives and not be bothered, and with their friends and their family. But it's the governments that can't get along. The people are fine, but when you get to the government, that's what's bad. That's a problem. So that's my, and this is, these governments, the Ukrainian government, the Russian government, but I don't know. I mean, I think Putin might be a rotten egg. he might be the bad part of this. I mean, maybe if you take Putin out of the equation, things will be better. Yes.
My way of helping in Ukraine is by renting an Airbnb in Odessa.
Right.
I don't really go there, I'm not really staying there.
I've heard
But they
that.
get the money for that the very next day from the bank.
I've heard of that.
And so then I get, spend the night in Odessa 5 or 6 times a week
Right.
at different places. You
Wait.
can also buy pizza in that town and then they feed it to other people.
That's interesting, but I've never known if it's true. I mean, it's really true. How are you sure that when you buy
You talk to them.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. I talk to the people and
Okay.
a repeat visitor.
Good.
Not ever been there, but I'm a repeat.
All right, there was a, I did, while I was in Ukraine, I also did, 10-minute movies on, YouTube. YouTube and Facebook, and it was great. If I had to do over again, I would go to acting school. But anyway, I was able to do these jobs, these movies there, and another guy, one of the other guys who's did it with me, he was on the front line, and I knew that if he got money, it would be good, and so I sent to him. So that was good for me. So I knew that if I sent to him, he's a good guy. Yes.
So President Brzezinski is kind of considered Ruben's hero, and
No problem coming and going to get in?
Well, the only problem is taking the train from Kiev to Poland, another train, and then get on the plane. But, I mean, going across the border and stuff, you're fine, because I have a residency permit, she has a Ukrainian passport, so.
I was denied. I wanted to go and work, volunteer at a orphanage, but I was denied because I wasn't able to, protect myself. You know, I needed to have some way to, either fight or know how to use a gun or something because of the area of fighting. They didn't want to have a soldier have to be.
What city were you going to?
I was going to Hamud.
Yeah.
It was,
Huh. That was like a
Northeast.
year ago or 2 years ago?
yeah, about a year ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Okay,
Where are
looks
you
like,
related from?
Keith,
You are from Keith.
my babushka,
Well, I heard
which means
that.
his grandma. My grandma brought me here in 1955.
We had a cousin who had a daughter-in-law from you.
Oh.
okay, I think that's about it. So, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Okay, and I'll take this one too.
Oh, yeah.
Get all my paraphernalia out.
I can't get this turned off.